Dr. Nicole here, and this is the second episode of Animal Kiddom. And today we are going to talk about leopard geckos. Look, my sweet coworker Sarah brought him in today for us to hang out and for you to learn about leopard geckos. So they are reptiles, so a type of lizard. And reptiles are what we call ectothermic, meaning that they can't make their own heat. So they have to get heat from outside sources, so either sunlight or heated rocks when they're outside. So they're really cool, unique animals. And if you ever want a reptile as a pet, just like with the bunny rabbits we talked about last week, you have to do a lot of research into what they need and how to keep them healthy. So unfortunately with reptiles, a lot of times when they get disease processes, it's because their husbandry isn't correct at home. And husbandry is their enclosure, are they living in the right environment? Are they being fed the right food? Is their temperature right? Is their humidity correct? So all of those things are really, really important for reptiles and can make them sick if they're not proper and not right. So with leopard geckos, they eat insects only. So that's all they eat is insects. Most of what they eat in captivity are crickets, but they can have dubia roaches and mealworms and superworms once in a while, waxworms once in a while. And it's important that the crickets and the insects are what we call gut loaded. So that means they're fed a very special calcium diet and a nutritious diet before they're then fed to the leopard gecko. So then the leopard gecko is getting that nutrition through the insects. It's also important to dust the insects with calcium and vitamin D. Otherwise, they can get a disease called metabolic bone disease, which means their bones just become malformed and it can make them really quite sick. Now, I wanted to tell you some really cool things about leopard geckos specifically. One is that they have this amazing tail. So see how chubby it is? They store extra fat and nutrients in the tail so that if they're sick or if they can't get food, they can rely on this extra source of nutrition from their tail. Now, the other thing is that leopard geckos, when they're scared, if a predator attacks them from their tail, they can actually drop their tail so they can lose their tail. Isn't that crazy? Now, obviously, we don't ever want to grab a leopard gecko by the tail. We don't want them to do that because that actually causes a lot of stress because then this extra source of nutrition they have is gone. So sometimes they can get really sick after they lose their tail and when that happens. But it's a really cool defense mechanism they have in the wild where if someone attacks them, they can run off. So they drop their tail. The tail can actually keep wiggling for 30 minutes. So it can totally distract a predator and they'll think the leopard gecko is still there. And meanwhile, the leopard gecko runs away and hides. So it can save their life in the wild. It's really cool. The other cool thing is that they have 100 teeth and they can make new teeth every 3 to 4 months. That is amazing. And you guys thought sharks were cool. These little guys do that too, which is awesome. They also shed their skin. So they have this really cool, kind of rough skin. And once a month they'll shed their skin and they eat it. Can you believe that? I can't even believe that. But it's good and it's an extra source of nutrition for them too. At least they're not eating their poop like bunnies. They're just eating their skin. So that's kind of the main things I wanted to teach you guys about leopard geckos today. Just a little bit about how they're unique as reptiles versus mammals and how they're unique as a species themselves. Reptiles, there's hundreds and hundreds of species of different reptiles and each one is different. And there's even tons of species of geckos and a leopard gecko is going to be very different from a different type of gecko. So you do have to be really conscientious of doing your research for each individual species you want to have as a pet and make sure you're taking care of that species properly. And that is all from us. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye, guys.